place we're staying at had cable. Obviously, only had cable. So we put on. I put on. I'm going through the channels, and I go by MSNBC, and it says in 60 minutes it's about to start the Global Citizen concert.
Yeah, it was funny, man, because we were like, I got up and I was like doing shit during the day, and we're all talking, and Royce was like, "Yeah, you want to check out the Global Citizen concert presented by Citibank?" And I was like, "The fucking what, mate?"
Exactly.
Like, I was like, it's one of those things where you get up and you haven't had any caffeine yet, and you're like, "The fucking what?" And I thought he was fucking.
No, it wasn't.
It was literally called Citibank and Verizon and Johnson and Johnson
And
presents-
Comcast Universal.
And Comcast presents the Global Citizen Festival. It
So
was like,
I'm watching this, and we have some excerpts here of it. But think of it like a Great Value Live 8 concert. It was supposed to. The point of this concert was supposed to end global poverty. So that's what the point of it was. However, they went down the list of what ends global poverty, and it's funny. You know, apparently open borders, climate change, and any left-wing talking point, for example, is the only way to end global poverty. Now, they're for open borders, by the way. Global citizens, right? Look, man. A lot of people criticize Alex Jones, and sometimes we do for some stuff, but when he said this globalization, they're literally calling it a global citizen brought to you by Citibank.
brought to you by the bleeps. Like,
So-
I can't do that.
They would have...
How many, by the way, how many people went up on that stage that may have activated your almonds a little bit? Like, did you notice? Was there any pattern recognition?
There was.
Okay, just
There
wondering.
definitely was.
Because I noticed a couple of
It was a lot of
coincidences.
CEOs.
A lot of rich
CEOs.
A lot of rich white dudes.
So, this is how this was in Central Park. It was in New York City.
Brian Quinn, brought to you by Predatory Lending.
Yes, exactly. It was in New York City at the beginning. Now, I don't have this clip, and because again, I wasn't recording this. I was just watching it, but I can attest to this clip. About an hour before it began, there was an MSNBC reporter, some young dude with glasses, was walking around with a microphone and interviewing people that were starting to sit down in this field. So he starts interviewing people, and they go, "And you couldn't buy a ticket to this event. The only way to you have to do good works in the community, and then you won a ticket, right? So you have to do good things." So he's going around asking people what they did. He walks up to this woman, and he goes, "Oh, what did you do to earn a ticket?" And she's like, "Oh, I went out and I cleaned up. I did a neighborhood thing, and I cleaned up my neighborhood. Picked up garbage, whatever." And he's like, "Oh, that's really cool." He walked up to this black dude. And he goes, "And what did you do? Because it was really hard to get a ticket for this. You had to really do good works. What did you do to get a ticket for this?" And the black guy goes, "I sent like a lot of tweets." And he's like, "Oh, yeah, like how many? You must send a lot of tweets." And he goes, "I don't know, like 10. So he sent 10 tweets with the hashtag Global Citizens.
But maybe they got a lot of retweets.
No, with no retweets.
Dude, sending 10 tweets is hard.
So this entire thing... It was a really weird thing. Like so they would have their talking points, right? And one of the big talking points was like this. We have to look past politics. This isn't political. This isn't one person or another person or blah 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 blah, anything like that. And then they would go into, but right now in the Trump administration, it's really hard for little Maria Elena from Guatemala. They would do these little pieces where you would see like someone from Guatemala.
Yeah.
We should just tear down our borders because someone from Guatemala is sad.
Not only that, but then they would always just reference these made-up Guatemalan kids. Remember that? They were like, it was like just the other day, Royce, you told me you were speaking to a young Honduran girl, and she was saying that climate change is the biggest thing that's facing us. And it's like, I'm pretty sure none of that
That's not
happened.
what she said.
I'm pretty sure she was like, "Senor, I'm hungry." "Senor, please, I'm hungry."
So,
and he's like, "Fine, little girl, I'll give you half a sandwich if you say global warming is the scariest thing in the world." "Yes, I am scared of climate change. I'm hungry."
So here's what they do. They know that they're not... Apparently, it was supposed to be 60,000 people that showed up. And it might have been that many because you think it's a free concert in the middle of New York City. That many people will come up. They can't get people, obviously, to show up and give a shit about the environment if you don't have what is it? Bread and circus. Like you
Gotta have bread and circus.
So they had different performers performing. Like Alicia Keys was up there, not wearing makeup for some reason.
Yeah, Pharrell was up there, sticking the joint up.
It was really bad. Pharrell was up there. They had Queen featuring Adam Lambert.
Another terrible. He's not at all like usually you replace a guy, you get a guy that has the same octave range.
Yeah.
As the not get it, Freddie Mercury is a hard guy to match.
Of course.
But like even the guy, remember the Journey got that Ching Chong China?
Sounded just like him.
Looked nothing like the band.
But sounded just
but
like him.
sounded just like Steve Perry. They just Adam Lambert has a decent okay voice, but nowhere on Freddie Mercury's level. But he's still trying to be as flashy, and it was like, how dare you?
So they were rolling out different people in between the songs, and like Alicia Keys wasn't doing an entire set; she was doing like her hits. And then, then they would have the CEO of Comcast come out, the CEO of Procter and Gamble. They had the Prime Minister of Barbados come out, and it was all basically talking about climate change, but also shitting on Trump because that's what's important. Let me play some of the excerpts after the music.
Actor and activist Leonardo DiCaprio.
He should have landed on that stage in a helicopter, and then a little tiny helicopter came out of that helicopter, and then Leo hits. He's the biggest wasteful fucking big.
Leonardo DiCaprio has a mega yacht and a private plane.
Yeah, this concert is actually not in Central Park. It's taking place on one of Leo DiCaprio's second biggest boat.
Yep.
Just docked next to New York City.
Hello, New York. In the 4 years since the Paris Agreement.
He's drunk. He's drunk. I'll put money on it.
It's been 4 years.
Oh, yeah.
It's become clear that our political leaders have failed to live up to the promises that we celebrated that day. As our reliance on fossil fuels continues to hold our future hostage, our
Not hammered, but
he's drunk.
He's had
drunk.
a few. Yeah, he's had a few drinks.
planet continues to warm, and the result, the massive loss of biodiversity, rising sea levels.
Reading off a cue card, by the way.
Of course. They all just came out and uninspiredly read off cue cards the whole night.
Refugees, worsening storms,
Imagine,
fires.
seriously, imagine being famous, right? And imagine pretending that you're the good guys, that you're the resistance, you're fighting against all this fascism stuff, right? But imagine you do that by doing these high-paid gigs for banks, and all you do is come out and read what the banks told you to read.
You're right.
It's like Royce said a while back. Remember 10 years ago when the banks were the fucking enemy? I mean, they almost bankrupted this country.
Occupy Wall Street. When we covered this old Fifth Circle stuff, we covered the Occupy Wall Street. All the leftists and all the liberals, and mind you, this is 10 years ago. This isn't like in the 50s. 10 years ago, all these leftists and hippies came to Occupy Wall Street, and they were like, you guys are the real problem. The banks are the real problem. We bailed you out and you're fucking us and blah. And they would sit there. And you know what? I'll say this in hindsight, because we goofed on them, and I still think we should have goofed on them. In hindsight, some of the stuff they were saying, looking back now, they had a point on some, like, the Occupy Wall Street, it's easy to make fun of them, and I still would in many ways, but there was some of the stuff that these same people were attacking the banks. Now, even Greta got caught on tape saying the banks are the only way to save it. Citibank, these huge financial organizations are our heroes now.
Is it just leverage and like owning their careers that they're doing this at this point? They can't believe this shit.
Especially not someone who wastes as much as he. There's some people, right, that like, here's an example of someone who I think believes it. Ed Begley Jr. Like, that's a guy who rides around in a car powered by corn.
But
like,
he did it back when it was corny and not...
Right. Exactly.
Wasn't cool to do.
Right.
Like, he was mocked for it.
And I don't like Ed Begley Jr. I think he's an overreacting idiot. But, again, there's some people that I do think believe it. Like, they go, I believe this, and I'm going to... Ed Begley Jr. has a compost thing that he flips every day out. So, like...
He was mocked mercilessly for years of our childhood. But he was doing it when it was uncomfortable to do all that.
Right.
Like, he could have easily gotten a nice truck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Done whatever. No. It was always like... Remember, what was the Simpsons? Is Simpsons the one where he got in a little electric car?
Yeah. So... But a lot of these, this guy, there's photos of him on a mega yacht with just 20. Good for you, man. Get 20 chicks. I don't give a fuck. That's an awesome life. A lot of people would love to have your life. But you can't in the same breath then just talk down to me. You get to also talk down to me. You don't get to tell me that, hey, you know what? Even though I just flew in here on a fucking Apache, you can't eat a burger or have a straw, you fucking loser.
Well, it's that. But it's like, okay, let's say he doesn't buy this. That's pure evil then, right? That you're just coming out and taking marching orders from the banks and reading their script. Like, I could never be the kind of person that takes a fucking word-for-word script from Citibank and gets told, read this, tell these people how to live their lives.
I found it, the entire thing. Remember I said this is the entire... Okay, so here's the Global Citizens Festival. We're going to just skim through it, obviously. But this is the pre-show. Oh, yes, this is exactly... Okay, perfect. Here we go.
Performances and amazing music from some of the biggest acts in music today. Are you ready for who's here? Headliners including Carole King, Alicia Keys, her, OneRepublic, Pharrell Williams, and Queen.
Like it was just a massive commercial, but it with some like really overwhelmingly globalist, kind of like creepy.
Here it is.
Yeah, like
it is. Oh, I got it.
To have a surprise guest joining her. I also heard that Queen's soundcheck here on the stage yesterday was totally mine. To have a surprise guest joining.
This is how far it's all going to go. What's up, you guys? We're live on MSNBC. How are you? How you doing?
Very good.
What's your name?
Karen.
Karen, what did you do to show up to the Global Citizen Festival? How'd you get your ticket?
I got my tickets from a cousin who had a lot of tickets to give out.
So I'm watching this live, and Mike could attest to this. I'm screaming at the TV going, what the fuck is this? So I must have caught this right at the beginning.
Tickets. You must know somebody important.
No, we just signed a lot of petitions, wrote letters.
Signed a lot of petitions and wrote letters. What was the most important one to you?
We didn't actually do it. I was just told to say that.
I don't know.
Now I'm panicking.
My cousin's a doctor, and my other brother is actually the CEO of Comcast. So we were just given blocks of tickets.
Plastic.
Get rid of plastic. And guys, I'll tell you more about that in just a little bit. One of the coolest things here is that they do not want single-use plastic bottles, straws, things like that out here at the Global Citizen Festival. Coming up after the commercial break, I'm going to show you a lot more about how you can actually get your own water bottle once you get out here to Central Park. If you're not here yet, come out here right now because, look, you're going to be joining all of these people. Hey.
Which means the only way... Listen to what's happening. The only way... They said we're giving tickets to people doing good works, but they didn't sell it out. Now they're going, just come out. No, come out here. Because they have to make it look like a lot of people are there.
A lot of people give a shit. And then also, isn't it a little creepy to go like, hey, we're going to give a concert out, but you have to do something that fits our agenda.
Correct.
Or you can't see the concert.
Yep.
Like what if, like I guarantee you there's nobody pushing any conservative efforts.
No, of course not.
So it's just very one-sided and creepy.
Hey, how are you? What's your name?
Here it is.
What did you do in order to get your ticket to the Global Citizen Festival this year?
Actually, he got them for me.
Come on up here. What's your name?
Ellie.
What is it? Ellie. Yeah. I'm Jacob. It's nice to meet you. You're live on MSNBC right now. So if you want
and
all
he's
your
like,
friends...
damn, I'm with my side bitch.
Yeah.
You fucking me right now, man. Bro, could you go over to some of that, man? Dude, they never pick black folks for these things. Why the fuck are they fucking with me today? They always pick white folks.
Okay, this is
out there to know what you did to get your tickets here, what action you took. Tell me.
Oh man, everything from tweeting on different social issues in Africa, in America, everything. So,
how many tweets did it take? I mean, did they give you a ticket right away, or did you actually have to do a lot of work?
It was probably like 10 tweets. You know?
This is the best.
Look, I want to show you that I wasn't exaggerating. I wasn't exaggerating when I said this.
That's exactly how Royce explained this. I didn't see this.
It was like 10 tweets.
That's very funny.
10 tweets.
Yeah, and I actually meant to go to a run in Central Park last week, and I missed it. So
this is next level. I was also going to do a run for charity, but
it's too hard, man. Are you fucking crazy?
Running through Central Park, the thing that rich people do every day for free is like, it was too much for me.
there are a lot of things like you're supposed to do to like get here. It's not easy.
This guy is like slacktivism the person.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Anthony Cumia sends more tweets than that on the toilet.
Look, the truth is, I said they needed more black faces. That's what really.
Yeah, Jesus Crow got it. So he sent 10 tweets and missed a run.
Tweets. I probably send out 10 tweets an hour, but 10 tweets about eradicating global poverty is
He
important.
realizes it.
Of course. But this goes to show you whenever you try to set up these subversive things like Global Citizen Festival, you could control what Leonardo DiCaprio says on the stage. You could control what all the CEOs say on the stage.
Yeah, but all these idiots barbecuing and sitting on blankets.
This is it. Well, this is a wild card. Like when you go into the crowd, you'll lose a lot of what you're trying to build by one person going, I don't know, I just saw Alicia Keys was here.
Yeah, so how did you get in here today? How'd you get your tickets? I saw a Craigslist ad. It said free tickets for black people, trans people, and things like that to come for a free concert. I don't know, man. And they just sent me the tickets.
Now, I do have a question. You look like you would know. They're not going to sit me with the trans people, right?
They're not. You're not trans, right? It starts degenerating in there. Everybody's fighting each other.
I appreciate it. Nice to meet you guys. Enjoy it. Did you get you have a...
He puts Purell in his hand after he shakes anybody in the crowd's hand. He just uses Purell
Somebody
on
said
it.
the interviewer's low-key taking the piss out of these people. I don't know, man. That's a bold move.
Check this.
Global Citizen at National Geographic on a trip to Tumbes, Peru, to learn more about and advocate for an organization called Education Cannot Wait, which helps provide education to children all across the world in conflict and crisis.
And so you traveled and you met with families who are actually fleeing Venezuela.
That's right.
Joy Reid.
We're in Peru.
What are they fleeing? What are they fleeing in Venezuela at?
I was screaming. I was screaming at this too.
What is it that they're fleeing?
They're fleeing socialism. But at the end of this little interview here, what do you think they say they're fleeing? Yeah, I know you didn't see this. I did see this. What
The
do you
new
think?
puppet regime propped up by Trump.
Climate change.
No.
On my life. Climate change. They go because climate change has made it unfarmable and unlivable in this area.
No. Maduro made it unfarmable and untenable, and then the guy that took over after him made it even worse. Let's stop right now. Or no, I'm sorry, Maduro and the guy before him, Chavez actually made it horrendous, and then Maduro took over and made it 20 times worse. It's not climate change. Venezuela, if you remove the corruption and the communism, is a beautiful country. It's gorgeous. When you talk about the amount of like beaches it has, it's like the access it has to a nice land mass. Venezuela would be fine if they had, maybe somebody who's a helicopter enthusiast running it.
On that trip, and what do you think that people need to know that they don't about the crisis?
The number one thing that we heard from families who we asked this question. We said,
in Venezuela.
What's one thing that you want the world to know about you and your situation? And repeatedly they said to us, we want people to know that it's real.
Who's mumbling in the background?
This was on MSNBC Live, by the way. This is how it went over the air.
There's a lot of propaganda being spread that says this crisis isn't as monumental as it is, and we want people to know that this is real. Venezuela doesn't share a border with Peru. People walked for months to arrive there. They're fleeing persecution. They're afraid for themselves and their families, and they're seeking a better life in the countries surrounding.
Countries that aren't doing the very thing that this movement is trying to do. They're fleeing this.
They're fleeing you,
They're
lady.
fleeing the global citizenship. That's what they're fleeing. They're fleeing socialism. They're fleeing communism. They're not fleeing. They're not. So I'm sorry.
In the United States, when we hear immigration lately, a lot of times it becomes a political debate.
That's right.
Being on the ground in Peru, looking at this in a global lens, what did that...
A global lens, Mike. Are you looking at things through a global lens?
I will die before I ever look at things through a global lens.
tell you about the human rights aspect of it.
That's right. There's people behind. People have to be out in front of these out in front of our politics. There are families who are suffering. People have to come first.
See, our facts don't actually stand alone on their own. So we need to have babies, women, kids looking very hysterical. We got to have them out in front
way.
so that people don't really take the time to think about how batshit crazy and nonsensical our policies are. So, it's like instead of saying, hey, let's pay a carbon tax, even though we're less polluted, we pollute the earth less than India and China, and they're also going to pay no tax, and they're going to have an economic advantage over us. Instead of doing that, just stick crying children out on television, and eventually people will just go, all right, stop crying. Here, take my country.
Venezuela was a country that, by the way, all of these people loved Bernie last election, was a country that said the American dream can be found in places like Venezuela. You guys thought this, let me tell you something. When Chavez was in there, for a few years, the leftists and especially the socialist leftists were saying how amazing Venezuela was, and they took the oil production and they gave it to the people. Now people are eating garbage.
And we need to think about them when we make policy.
When you were in Peru, you had said you were frustrated to know that people who are coming to the United States can't seek refuge. We're not even treating those who come here as well as those Venezuelans who are being treated in Peru.
So what? It's
Good,
not our problem.
But Peru is closer to them. Like, what you're saying is they should bypass all these other you should bypass all these other countries.
We need to take them all in, Royce, from all over the world. All 7.5 billion people, Royce. We have to let them here.
Why are we responsible? We're 350 million people. Why are we responsible for the rest of the 7 billion people on the planet? Why are we responsible for them? I don't understand. And by the way, before anybody says, oh, because we destroyed their we didn't do anything to Venezuela. That wasn't us. I get the Middle East of it, but we didn't do it in Venezuela. As a matter of fact, we were actively opposed to Chavez and all that shit. And still, it's our responsibility when there was half of this country was screaming, this isn't going to work. This isn't going to work. Chavez is literally palling up with Castro when he was still alive. They're hanging out and they're fucking having mojitos while there's people in their country starve. I was saying, and I was like, what are you doing? You're going to ruin this country. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? And now it's ruined, and everyone's doing the wow Pikachu face, like,
what's happening? Why? But why?
It's even worse here.
Well, I don't know that it's worse here, but one of the things that we were so struck by is that Peru has opened their arms to these families in need. Peru, at the time of our trip, had accepted more than 600,000 Venezuelan migrants, and that should be celebrated.
Do you know how many people we accept? Like, just in sheer number, how many people we accept? Peru accepted 600,000 Venezuelan migrants. Okay, good for them. Like, but do you see what they're saying? Even this woman, I don't know her name, but she's the one she's on an Amazon Prime show, Miss Maisel or some shit, the one talking. Even she's like, well, I don't know if we treat them worse. We don't treat them worse. They're coming here and you want it to be. And that's why they're framing this with global citizenship. Are you a global citizen?
No.
Are you a global?
No. I'm an American.
Fuck you.
Hey,
fuck you.
Hey, Royce, I'm a goddamn American.
We should be celebrating people who believe in our global community. People who think that
we
none
should
of
be disparaging people who don't by calling them all Nazis and getting them deplatformed until we eventually get our way.
us are well unless we are all thriving.
Wait, what was that? What was that? I'm sorry, I need to back up just a little bit. That statement is the encapsulation of what they're trying to. Here it is.
Who think that none of us are well unless we are all thriving.
None of us are well unless we are all thriving. You know who else used to say that shit? Karl Marx. No, yeah, Karl Marx. Like, communists say that. But here's what happens. We're not all well. Here's what the global citizen movement wants it. If we're all poor, nobody's poor. Like, that's what they want. Because at the end of the day, your little actresses and your actors and your Leonardo DiCaprios and you're all going to be in your little fucking $15,000 a month penthouses, right? You're all going to be fucking chilling there with a doorman so nobody gets in and the peasants don't touch you in your castles. But everybody else is going to suffer. Everybody else is going to suffer just like Venezuela did. So you in this segment are proving how terrible these politics are, but then also saying the only way to fix this is with more socialism.
We'll get it. We'll get it right this time.
And that was something that we saw in Peru.
Were you able to sort of discern some of the things that are driving people out of Venezuela? Is it about poverty? Is it about persecution? Because we know that, in our own reporting, we found that climate change is one of the things that's driving people to move because it makes farming more difficult. There are a lot of issues that drive people out.
Is it notice how she astroturfed it. And the reason I'm not reacting to this is because I heard this live already, so I knew it was coming. Look how they astroturf it. Is it politics? We heard politics, and we'll hear politics, and we'll hear this and that. But also in our reporting, leans into the camera, we heard it was climate change. First off, Venezuela isn't a huge farming community, okay? Venezuela is a thriving town with an oil industry and factories. This had nothing to do with farming. They're treating Venezuela like 30 years ago, Venezuela was really pretty and really nice. And they're pretending like Venezuela is Zimbabwe, or like some fucking the Mojave Desert. It's not what it was.
And they still
look how they're leading her. But look, they're Joy Reid especially. Look how they're just trying to lead her to say what they want. We found in our reporting that climate change. Go ask everybody in Venezuela if they think it was climate change why their country's fucked up.
They live.
And we saw a wide variety during our visit there. Mostly, the biggest thing that we heard over and over and over again was that people stayed as long as they possibly could. And one of the main contributing factors with the families that we met was lack of food. A lot of people were...
Well, at least she's not fucking falling for it.
No.
I mean, at least she's like, fine, that's cool. But, it's most of the food.
It is a lack of food. It's what it is.
Where their education was disrupted, and that was a priority for families in Peru.
But the reason in Venezuela that they have a lack of food or education is because it was all government controlled. They actually took over a Kellogg's factory. Like, Kellogg's used to have a cereal factory in Venezuela.
Remember
and
that?
they took it over. They took it over.
This, and they were like, oh, Jesus.
Rachel, we got to hear all of your serious leadership, which I think your fans look to. We didn't even have time to do any stand-up with you, so.
That's very okay. Thank you for that.
But we know you're good at that.
Look, we have to go to oh God, but there's so much to unfucking. We could go to break and come back to some of this because there was a lot here that we could, or we can move on. What do you think?
Well, we could take a break and come back.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
There's so much from this that just got us.
It was really, really